Rain tapped the diner windows like impatient fingers. Neon light bled red and blue across the wet street outside, turning every passing car into a blurry streak. Inside, the air smelled of coffee, fried onions, and tired people pretending they weren't tired. Ethan Parker sat in a corner booth with a plate of eggs, growing cold in front of him. Across the seat, his son's small jacket was folded neatly, like a placeholder for a life that wasn't there tonight. He told himself he only came for food, but the empty seat kept staring back. Before we go any further, where are you watching from today? It still blows my mind how one simple moment can reach hearts across the world. Drop your city in the comments. Let's see how far this story can travel tonight. Ethan hadn't planned to stop at the diner. He planned to go straight home after his shift shower. Laundry, microwave dinner, and the quiet routine that felt safer than thinking. But Noah had fallen asleep in the back seat on the way from daycare, and Ethan had carried him upstairs like a fragile package, careful not to wake him. Noah's cheek had been warm against Ethan's shoulder, his little breath steady. And Ethan had walked back down the stairs alone. That was the part that always hit hardest. The moment after doing everything right, when nobody said good job. Nobody asked how his day was, and the apartment went silent like it was holding its breath. So he drove. No destination. Just wheels on wet road, the wipers swiping like a metronome. Eventually, the neon diner sign appeared, familiar and forgiving. A place where no one asked questions if you looked broken as long as you paid the bill. He sat down, ordered eggs and toast, and stared at the empty seat across from him. The waitress, Carla, poured coffee without asking. She knew his face. She knew the look. Long day? She asked softly. Ethan forced a small smile. Every day's long? Carla patted his shoulder and walked away. Around him, late night life continued. A couple argued in whispers. Two college kids shared fries and laughed too loud. A trucker ate pie with both hands like he didn't care who saw. Ethan tried to focus on his food, but his mind drifted back to the hospital room 3 years ago. When Noah was born and his wife, Claire, held the baby once and cried. Not from joy. From panic. Claire had loved Noah. Ethan believed that. But love doesn't always win against fear. 2 months after Noah's birth, Claire left a note on the kitchen counter. I can't do this. I'm sorry. No goodbye kiss. No explanation. Just absence. Ethan read that note until the words stopped making sense. And then he kept going anyway. Now he worked 2 jobs. He learned how to braid tiny hair after bath time. He learned how to pack lunches that didn't come back untouched. He learned how to smile at other parents who looked at him like he was either brave or suspicious. But nights like this, nights with rain and neon and empty seats, still hurt. The bell above the diner door chimed. A woman walked in, shaking water off her hood. She looked young but tired, like she'd been tired for years. Her coat was too thin for the weather, and her shoes were damp. A little boy clung to her hand, maybe 6 years old, small face pale, eyes scanning the room like he was searching for safety. They stood near the entrance, hesitating. The hostess station was empty for a moment. The woman glanced around, biting her lip, measuring the room. Then her gaze landed on Ethan's booth. An empty seat, a man alone. She walked over slowly, not like someone trying to bother him, like someone trying not to fall apart. Ethan looked up, ready to say no before she even spoke. Not because he was cruel, because sometimes when you're barely holding your own life together, you're scared to touch anyone else's pain. The woman stopped beside his table. Her voice was low, almost swallowed by the diner noise. Hi. I'm sorry, she said. My son's hungry. Can we sit here a while? Ethan blinked. The boy stared at the plate of eggs like it was treasure. Ethan's first thought was, this is how trouble starts. Strange people. Late nights. a request that turns into a mess. His second thought was, that kid looks like Noah. When Noah had a fever, the woman's hands shook slightly as she held her son's fingers. She wasn't asking for money. She wasn't flirting. She wasn't selling anything. She was asking for space. Ethan looked at the empty seat again. The seat he'd been staring at like it belonged to someone missing. He swallowed. Yeah, he said, voice rough. Sit. The woman's shoulders sagged with relief so fast it almost looked like she might cry. She slid into the booth carefully and lifted her son up beside her. Thank you, she whispered like the words were too heavy. The boy didn't speak. He just watched the table, then Ethan, then the waitress moving in the distance. Carla approached, eyebrows lifting slightly at the new company. Ethan gave a small nod, like, it's okay. Carla turned to the woman. Hun, the woman hesitated, then said quietly, just a bowl of soup and bread, if that's okay. Carla's expression softened. Coming right up. Ethan picked up his fork again, but his chest felt tight. The woman kept her hands wrapped around her son's wrists, as if she was trying to keep him from slipping away. Her eyes flicked toward the window, then the door, then back down. Ethan didn't push. He just said, I'm Ethan. The woman swallowed. Maya, she replied. And this is Lucas. Lucas glanced up at his name, then back down shy. Ethan gave him a small smile. Hey, buddy. Lucas didn't smile, but his shoulders loosened a little. The soup arrived fast. Lucas started eating like he hadn't eaten all day. Careful at first, then faster when Maya nodded gently as if to say, it's okay, you can. Ethan watched that nod. A mother's permission, a mother's quiet promise. Something in Ethan's chest twisted. If you were sitting there in Ethan's place, what would you do? Would you offer the seat, or would you keep your distance? Comment your honest answer below. And if this kind of small kindness matters to you, tap like, because sometimes compassion is the only thing keeping someone standing. Maya kept her eyes on Lucas while he ate, but her gaze kept drifting to Ethan's plate too, like she felt guilty for taking up space. Ethan pushed his toast basket slightly toward Lucas. You want more bread? Maya started to refuse, but Lucas reached for it. Ethan didn't make a big deal of it. He just let the kid eat. Minutes passed. The diner noise faded into background hum. Rain kept tapping the glass, and Ethan realized he wasn't thinking about his empty seat anymore. He was thinking about why Maya's hands wouldn't stop shaking. And what kind of night makes a mother whisper for a place to sit? Maya finally spoke, barely audible. I promise. We won't be long. Ethan looked at her, really looked. Her cheeks were flushed from cold. Her eyes had that look people get when they've been crying but can't afford to keep crying. He said gently, you don't have to promise anything. Maya's breath hitched. For a second, she stared at him like she hadn't heard a sentence like that in a long time, and in that small booth, under neon light and rainy windows, something fragile began to form. Not romance, not rescue, just human connection, the kind that starts with one empty seat and one quiet yes. Lucas finished the soup and wiped his mouth with the back of his sleeve before Maya gently stopped him and handed him a napkin. Her fingers trembled as she folded it, as if her body didn't know how to relax anymore. Ethan noticed the bruising under her eyes, not makeup, not fashion, pure exhaustion, the kind that comes from too many nights of just make it to morning. Carla came by with a check folder in her hand. Glancing between Ethan and Maya, Ethan gave a small shake of his head and took the folder from her without opening it. Carla didn't argue. She just nodded, like she'd seen this movie before and knew which parts mattered. Maya's eyes widened when she saw Ethan slide the folder toward himself. She started signing with her hands without realizing it, little frantic motions. Palms up, no words. I can pay, she said quickly, voice low. I can, please, I didn't come here for. Ethan held up his hand gently. It's okay. Maya swallowed hard. Pride rose up in her face like a shield. No, I'm not. Her voice cracked. She pressed her lips together, trying to hold herself. Ethan didn't push money at her. He didn't do that thing some people do, making kindness loud so it feels like shame. He just asked quietly, how old is he? Maya glanced at Lucas, who was now staring at the rain outside. Eyes half-lidded like sleep was finally catching him. 6, she answered. Ethan nodded. My son's 3. Maya blinked. He's not with you. He's asleep at home. Ethan paused. I couldn't sit in that quiet tonight. Maya's shoulders dropped a fraction, like she understood that kind of quiet. She looked down at her hands. Same, she whispered. Carla returned with 2 small cups of hot chocolate, one for Lucas, one for Ethan, without asking. She placed a 3rd cup in front of Maya and said softly, on the house. Maya stared. I can't. Carla leaned in, voice firm but kind. You can. Drink it while it's warm. Maya's eyes filled. She nodded once. Thank you. Lucas took 1 sip and his whole face soft ice, like his body finally believed it was safe for a minute. He rested his head against Maya's arm. Maya kissed his hair without thinking, the way tired mothers do when love is the only energy left. Ethan watched, and his chest ached. He could have left. He could have paid and walked out and gone back to the lonely apartment and the tomorrow that always waited. But something in Maya's careful breathing told him they weren't just passing through the night. He asked, gently, where are you headed? Maya's eyes flicked up, fast guarded now. People ask that question with a different tone sometimes. A tone that meant, what's your story? Are you dangerous? Are you lying? Maya's fingers tightened around the hot cup. Just somewhere, she said. Ethan nodded, accepting the boundary. Then he added softer, you don't have to tell me. I just want to know you're okay. Maya stared at him like that sentence didn't fit in her world. Her lips trembled. She looked away quickly, blinking hard. Lucas mumbled something, half asleep. Maya leaned in. What, baby? Lucas pointed weakly at Ethan's plate. Is he your friend? Maya's throat moved. No, sweetheart. He's just kind. Lucas blinked slowly, then said the sentence that split something open in Ethan. Can we keep him? Maya let out a breath that was almost a laugh and almost a sob. No, honey, she whispered. People don't stay. Ethan felt that deep because Claire had said the same thing once in different words. Ethan swallowed. Some people stay, he said, not too loud, not trying to sound heroic. Just honest. Maya looked at him sharply. Do they? She whispered. Ethan nodded. I did. Silence settled between them. Not awkward. Just heavy. Then Maya's phone buzzed on the table. The screen lit up with a name that made her face change, instantly color draining. Shoulders stiffening. Ethan saw it from across the table. Darika. Maya snatched the phone and flipped it face down like it was a knife. Ethan didn't ask. But his eyes stayed gentle, steady, letting her know he'd seen. And he wasn't judging, he was paying attention. Maya took a shaky sip of hot chocolate. We really shouldn't, she began. The diner door chimed again. A man stepped inside, rain dripping from his jacket. Big frame, hard face, eyes scanning fast. Maya froze. Lucas lifted his head, confused. Mom? Maya's fingers went white around the cup. The man's gaze snapped to their booth. His mouth tightened into a thin smile that wasn't a smile at all. He walked toward them like he owned the air. Ethan's body tensed. He didn't stand yet, but something inside him rose instinct. The man stopped at the edge of the booth and looked at Maya like she was property. "There you are," he said, voice low but sharp. "You think you can just disappear?" Maya's voice came out small. "Derek, please, not here." Derek's eyes flicked to Lucas. "Get up," he snapped. Lucas shrank back. Ethan slid slightly, placing his forearm on the table, not aggressive, just present. He looked up at Derek calmly. "Hey," he said, "you need to lower your voice." Derek's eyes moved to Ethan like he'd just noticed a bug on the table. "Who are you?" Ethan kept his tone even. "Someone eating dinner?" Derek scoffed. "This is family business." Maya's hand shook as she pulled Lucas closer. Ethan saw it clearly now. This wasn't an ex dropping by for a chat. This was fear. Ethan's jaw tightened. He thought of Noah asleep at home. He thought of how small Lucas looked. He thought of Maya whispering for a place to sit, like she was begging for shelter. Derek leaned closer to Maya. "You're coming with me." Maya's eyes filled. "Please, Lucas is tired." Derek's hand shot out and gripped Maya's wrist. Ethan stood. Not fast, not dramatic. Just solid. A wall rising. "Let go," Ethan said quietly. Derek turned, sneering. "Or what?" Ethan didn't puff up. He didn't threaten. He just looked Derek in the eye and said, "Or everyone in this diner is going to see exactly who you are." Carla appeared at Ethan's side like she'd been waiting for this moment. Two other customers looked up, watching now. A trucker set his fork down. The room shifted from background noise to alert silence. Derek noticed the eyes on him. His grip loosened a fraction. Maya whispered, "Ethan, please." Ethan didn't look away from Derek. "You don't touch her," he said. Derek's face hardened. "You think you're some hero?" Ethan's voice stayed calm, but his heart was pounding. "No," he said. "I'm just not blind." Maya's breath hitched, and right there, under neon light, with rain painting the windows, Ethan made a choice that could bring trouble straight into his life. He reached into his pocket, pulled out his phone, and lifted it slightly. "Walk away," he said, "or I call the police." Derek's eyes flashed rage. He leaned in closer, voice like poison. "You call, and you'll regret it." Ethan didn't move. "So will you?" For a long second, nobody breathed. Then Derek released Maya's wrist fully and stepped back, scanning the diner, counting witnesses. His pride fought with his fear of being exposed. He pointed at Maya. "This isn't over," he hissed. Then he looked at Ethan, eyes cold. "And you just made it your problem?" Derek turned and stormed out into the rain. Maya collapsed against the booth like her bones had been holding up a building. Lucas clung to her, shaking. Ethan sat back down slowly, hands still steady even though his stomach was tight. Maya stared at Ethan, like he'd done something impossible. Have you ever had someone step in for you when you felt completely alone? If you have, rate yes. And if you want, drop their name too. Sometimes saying it out loud is how we keep their kindness alive. Maya touched her wrist where Derek had grabbed her. "You didn't have to do that," she whispered. Ethan's voice softened. "Yeah," he said. "I did." And as Lucas finally breathed again, Ethan realized this night wasn't about eggs and coffee anymore. It was about safety and the cost of giving it. Maya kept staring at the door as if Derek might burst back in any second. Her shoulders stayed lifted, tense, ready to run. Lucas had gone quiet, the way kids do when they're trying to be brave for their parent. Ethan reached across the table slowly and slid a clean napkin toward Lucas. "You did good." "Buddy," he said. Lucas blinked. "I didn't do anything." Ethan gave him a small smile. Sometimes doing nothing, staying calm, is the hard part. Lucas looked down, then nodded once, like he accepted that. Carla returned, voice gentle. "You want me to call someone? Police? A friend?" Maya shook her head too fast. No, police. She swallowed. Please. Carla's eyes narrowed, not judging, understanding. Okay, but you're not leaving alone. Maya's lips trembled. I don't have a choice. Ethan felt his stomach drop at how practiced that sentence sounded. He leaned forward. Maya, he said softly, you do have choices. Maybe not easy ones, but you have them. Maya's eyes flashed. You don't know him, she whispered. He's not just angry. He's connected. He knows people. Ethan nodded slowly. And you're still here, he said. That means you're still fighting. Maya looked down at her hands. The shaking hadn't stopped. Ethan lowered his voice. Are you safe tonight? Maya hesitated too long. That was the answer. Ethan exhaled and tried not to show the panic that rose in him. He had a child at home. A small apartment. A routine built on control. Letting a storm into his life could break everything, but he couldn't unsee Lucas's face when Derek grabbed Maya's wrist. He couldn't unhear Maya whispering, not here. Ethan glanced at his phone. A message from his neighbor, Mrs. Patel. Noah's still asleep. Don't worry, Ethan swallowed, grateful for that tiny mercy. Maya watched his face. You have a kid, she whispered. You shouldn't, Ethan cut her off gently. Tell me the truth, he said. Is Derek your husband? Maya's eyes filled. No, she whispered. Not anymore. Ethan waited. Maya took a shaky breath. I left him 6 months ago, she said. I tried the right way. Shelter, paperwork, court dates. Her voice broke. He found us anyway. Lucas clutched her coat sleeve. Mom, Maya kissed his forehead, trying to smile. It came out wrong. It's okay, baby. But it wasn't. Ethan's jaw tightened. Why tonight? He asked. Why did you come here? Maya's eyes flicked to the window. Rain streaked down like tears that never ended. Because we got kicked out of the motel, she whispered. I was short $20. The manager said, no exceptions. Ethan felt something hard turn inside his chest. Maya continued, quiet and ashamed. I was going to figure it out. I always figure it out. But Lucas said he was hungry. And then I saw this place. I thought, maybe just one warm bowl of soup. Just 1 hour where no one yells. Ethan stared at her, heart pounding. The diner suddenly felt too small, like the world outside was pressing in. Carla returned with a small paper bag and placed it beside Maya. Bread and fruit, she said. For later. Maya's eyes widened. I can't take that. Carla leaned close. You can. And you will. Then she glanced at Ethan. You got a plan, hon? Ethan opened his mouth, then closed it. He had no plan. He just had a feeling that if Maya walked back into the rain, something bad would happen. Ethan rubbed his palms on his jeans, thinking fast. He could offer his couch. But that felt risky for Noah, for Maya, for everyone. He could call a shelter, but Maya already said she tried. He could call police, but she begged not to. Then Ethan remembered something, an old favor. A phone number saved in his contacts from years ago. His sister, Tessa, worked at a community center. The kind of place that stayed open late when it mattered. The kind of place with a back room and a lock on the door. And people who didn't ask questions with judgment. Ethan stood and stepped away from the booth, keeping Maya in his sight. He called Tessa. She picked up on the second ring. Ethan, what's wrong? Ethan kept his voice low. I'm at Murphy's Diner. There's a woman here. A kid. They need a safe place tonight. Tessa didn't ask why. She didn't ask, are you sure? She just said, bring them. Ethan's throat tightened. You have room? We always have room, she said. Come now. Ethan ended the call and returned to the booth. Maya's eyes snapped up, fear sharp. Who did you call? Ethan sat down slowly. My sister, he said. She runs a community center. It's not a shelter exactly, but he glanced at Lucas. It's safe, warm, locked. Maya shook her head. I can't drag you into this. Ethan's voice stayed gentle. Maya, Derek already dragged me in. The question is, do we let him drag you back? Maya's eyes filled again. She looked down at Lucas, who was rubbing his eyes, exhausted. Lucas whispered, Mom, I'm sleepy. Maya's face broke. She nodded once tiny. Okay, she whispered. Just tonight. Ethan exhaled. Just tonight. They moved fast. Carla packed the leftover bread. Ethan paid the check without comment. Maya kept scanning the windows outside. The rain hit cold and sharp. Ethan held his jacket over Lucas's head as they hurried to the car. Maya clutched her bag, trembling. Halfway to the car, Maya stopped and grabbed Ethan's sleeve. If he shows up, she whispered, don't be brave. Just go, protect your son. Ethan looked at her, eyes steady. I'm protecting a kid right now, he said. 2 kids. Maya's lips trembled. They got into Ethan's old sedan. The heater groaned as it turned on. Lucas curled up in the back seat, already falling asleep against the window. Maya sat in the front, hands clasped tight. Ethan started the engine, and then headlights flashed behind them. A black SUV rolled into the diner lot, slow and confident. Maya's breath stopped. No, she whispered. Ethan's heart slammed. In the rearview mirror, he saw a familiar shape behind the wheel. Derek. Maya, single quotes as voice cracked. He followed us. Ethan's hands tightened on the steering wheel. He could drive out fast, but Derek's SUV was bigger. He could block them. He could ram them. Ethan forced himself to think. He turned off the car lights. Then he waited just a second until Derek's SUV pulled closer, searching. Ethan whispered, hold on. He put the car in reverse, slowly, silently, backing out of the spot while Derek's attention was fixed on the diner entrance. Maya covered her mouth with her hand. Shaking, Ethan reversed, then turned hard, cutting behind a row of parked cars. Tires splashed through puddles. Derek's SUV paused. Then its headlights swung toward them. Ethan hit the gas. The sedan surged forward. The rain blurred the world. Maya clutched the dashboard. Lucas stirred in the back, frightened. Mom, Maya twisted around, forcing calm. It's okay, baby. It's okay. But her eyes were wide with terror. Ethan drove through side streets, avoiding main roads, taking turns like he was trying to disappear. Derek stayed behind them, not close enough to crash, but close enough to threaten. Like a shadow, Ethan's mind raced. He couldn't go home. He couldn't lead Derek to Noah. He remembered Tessa's center 2 miles away. He whispered, we're going somewhere safe. Maya's voice broke. He'll find us anywhere. Ethan didn't answer. He just drove harder, heart hammering. Now it's your turn. Tell me one small good thing you did recently. Even something tiny. Write it below, because your small action might remind someone tonight that kindness still exists. Ahead. The community center sign appeared through the rain. Ethan turned into the lot and sped toward the back entrance where the light was dimmer. Tessa burst out the door as if she'd been waiting. Keys in hand, eyes fierce. Ethan skidded to a stop. Tessa yanked the back door open. Move, she said. Now, Maya grabbed Lucas, who was half asleep and confused. Ethan jumped out, scanning the lot. Derek's SUV rolled in at the far end, headlights bright. Tessa saw it. Her face hardened. Inside, she ordered. They rushed through the back door. Tessa slammed it, locked it, and pulled a metal bar across. Inside, the center smelled like old carpet and clean soap. It was warm. Save for half a second, Lucas clung to Maya. Maya's whole body shook. Ethan's chest heaved. Call someone, he whispered to Tessa. Tessa nodded, already dialing. I'm calling Officer Ramirez, she said. He owes me. Maya grabbed Ethan's arm. Please, she whispered. No police. Tessa looked her dead in the eye. Honey, she said softly, this isn't about punishment. This is about protection. Maya's eyes filled, outside. Heavy footsteps crunched on gravel. A shadow moved past the frosted window. Then a fist slammed against the back door. Bang. Lucas screamed. Maya covered his ears. Sobbing, Ethan stepped forward instinctively. Body between the door and them. Another bang. And Derek's voice came through the wood, low and furious. Open up, or I'll break it down. Ethan's stomach turned to ice because he knew this wasn't just a scare anymore. This was a man who didn't care who was watching, a man who wanted control more than he wanted. Peace. And Ethan realized something terrifying tonight. Kindness wasn't just emotional. It was dangerous. The third came harder. Bang. The back door shook in its frame. Dust trembled down from the top hinge. Lucas cried into Maya's coat, his little body vibrating with fear. Maya's hands pressed over his ears, as if she could block out the whole world. Don't listen, she whispered. Don't listen, baby. Ethan stood one step from the door, chest rising fast. He didn't feel brave. He felt terrified. But his feet didn't move. Tessa held her phone tight to her ear, voice clipped and urgent. Ramirez, I need you here now. Back entrance. He's trying to break in. Another bang. The metal bar held, but only barely. Derek's voice cut through again, sweet like poison. Maya, come out. You're making this worse. Maya flinched as if his voice had hands. Ethan turned slightly, keeping his body between the door and the room. Don't answer him, Ethan said softly. Maya shook her head, tears spilling. He'll hurt someone. He'll hurt you. Ethan swallowed. He doesn't get to choose who we are, he said. Derek slammed again. The door groaned. Tessa hissed into the phone. He has a child in here, Ramirez. A child? The banging stopped. For half a second, the silence was worse. Like the world was holding its breath. Then a new sound, the scrape of something metal against wood. Ethan's stomach dropped. He's got a tool, he whispered. Maya's face went white. He used to do this, she breathed. At home, when I locked a door. She couldn't finish. Lucas lifted his head, eyes huge. Mom, are we gonna die? Maya pulled him into her chest and shook her head too fast. No, baby, no, we're safe. But her voice didn't sound sure. Ethan looked around the room quickly. The community center was simple stacked chairs, a bulletin board, children's art taped to the wall. A small office in the back. A hallway leading to classrooms. Tessa pointed, whispering, back room, now. Ethan nodded. He guided Maya and Lucas toward the hallway. Go, he urged. Stay low, quiet. Maya clutched Lucas and moved fast. Lucas stumbled, then Ethan scooped him up for a second and handed him to Maya again at the corner. Like passing something precious through danger, Tessa led them into a small storage room with shelves of blankets and donated clothes. She shut the door gently, leaving it unlatched so it wouldn't click loud. Ethan stayed outside in the hallway, heart hammering. Tessa's voice came low. Ethan, get in here. Ethan shook his head. If he gets through, I'll slow him down. Tessa stared at him like she wanted to argue, then her eyes softened with a kind of fear she didn't want to admit. You have a son, she whispered. Ethan nodded. Exactly. Outside, the scraping grew louder. The door frame creaked. Ethan could picture Derek's face jaw set, eyes wild, anger dressed up as ownership. And then crack. Wood splintered. The metal bar snapped loose on one side. Ethan's mouth went dry. He reached for the nearest thing he could use, a heavy broom leaning in the corner, and gripped it like a bat. Not because he wanted to hurt anyone, because he wanted them to live. The door burst open. Cold air rushed in with rain and the smell of wet asphalt. Derek stepped into the center, dripping, eyes sharp. He looked around like a predator entering a den. His gaze landed on Ethan. Derek's lips curled. "You," he said. "You think you can hide my family?" Ethan's voice shook, but he forced it steady. "They're not yours," he said. Derek laughed. "Everything I touch is mine." He took a step forward. Ethan lifted the broom slightly. "Don't come closer." Derek's eyes flicked to the broom, and he smirked. "You gonna hit me? In a community center? In front of a kid?" Ethan swallowed. "I'm going to stop you." Derek's face changed, anger flashing. "You want to be the hero? Fine." He lunged at Ethan, swung the broom, not at Derek's head, at his shoulder. The impact jolted Ethan's arms. Derek grunted, stumbled back, then surged forward with fury. Derek grabbed the broom and yanked. Ethan held on. The broom snapped in half. Derek shoved Ethan hard into the wall. Ethan's back slammed against it, pain shooting down his spine. Derek leaned in close, breath hot. "You don't know what you just started." Ethan's vision blurred for a second. He tasted blood where he bit his tongue. Then a voice shouted from the front of the building, "Police." Derek froze. Officer Ramirez's voice echoed through the center, firm and loud. "Step away from the man. Hands where I can see them." Derek's eyes darted, calculating. Then he did something that made Ethan's blood run cold. He smiled. Slowly, he raised his hands. "Officer," he said smoothly, "thank God you're here. This man attacked me. I'm just trying to take my son home." Ethan's stomach dropped. "That's a lie," Ethan snapped. Ramirez stepped closer, eyes scanning the broken door, the snapped broom, the bruise already forming on Ethan's cheek. 2 more officers followed him in. Derek pointed toward Ethan like he was the victim. "He's been harassing Maya. He lured her in here. I'm the father. I have rights." Maya's muffled sob came from the storage room. Lucas whimpered. Tessa stepped forward fast. "Officer, that's not true," she said. He broke the door down. "I called you?" Ramirez's eyes narrowed at Derek. "Where's Maya?" he asked. Derek's smile stayed. "She's scared. She doesn't want to come out, but she will." He lifted his voice slightly. "Maya, come tell them. Tell them you're coming home." Maya didn't answer. Derek's eyes flashed. Ramirez stepped toward the storage room door. "Maya," he said gently, "it's safe." "It's Officer Ramirez. Tessa called me." The door creaked open an inch. Maya's face appeared wet with tears, eyes red, hair messy. She clutched Lucas tight. Ramirez's voice softened. "Are you okay?" Maya stared at Derek, then at Ethan, then back at Ramirez. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out at first. Derek's gaze pinned her. A silent warning. Ethan saw it and felt rage rise. He wanted to shout, to plead, to protect, but Maya needed more than protection. She needed her own voice back. Maya swallowed hard and whispered. He broke in. Derek snapped. Maya Ramirez lifted a hand. "Sir, quiet." Maya's breath shook. "He followed us. He grabbed me. Her voice cracked. "I left him because he hits walls. And sometimes he hits me." The room went still. Derek's smile vanished. "You're lying," he hissed. Maya flinched. Then something in her face changed, like fear got tired of being fear. She lifted her chin. A knot. Derek stepped forward. Ramirez blocked him. Derek's eyes burned. "She's hysterical," he spat. "She can't even keep a job. She can't pay a motel. Look at her. She's unfit." The word unfit hit Maya like a punch. Lucas tightened his grip on her coat. Mom? Maya's arms wrapped around him. I'm here, she whispered. Ramirez turned to Maya. Do you want to press charges? Maya's eyes filled again. She looked at Lucas. She looked at Ethan. She looked at the broken door. Then she whispered, I'm scared. Ramirez nodded. I know, but I need you to answer. Maya's throat worked. Derek's stare burned into her like a brand. And then Ethan did the smallest thing. He didn't speak. He just stepped closer one step so Maya could see him in her peripheral vision. So she could feel she wasn't alone. Maya's breath steadied. Barely doubt if that moment hit you hard. Leave it. Sometimes one little symbol says what our hearts can't. Maya looked at Ramirez and said, Stronger, yes, I want to press charges. Derek's face twisted. You ungrateful? Ramirez turned sharply. Sir, hands behind your back. One of the officers moved in. Derek tried to pull away. The cuffs clicked on. Lucas stared, stunned. Derek leaned toward Maya as the officers pulled him back. His voice dropped, venomous. You think this ends it? I'll take him. I'll take Lucas and you'll never see him again. Maya's face went white. Ethan felt his stomach sink because Derek didn't sound like he was bluffing. Ramirez led Derek out into the rain. The flashing lights painted the walls blue and red dot inside. The center felt quiet except for Maya's shaking breath and Lucas's soft whimpers. Tessa guided Maya to a chair. You did it, she whispered. You did the hardest part. Maya stared at her hands like she couldn't believe they were her own. He said he'll take Lucas, she whispered. Ethan knelt in front of her, voice gentle. We're going to protect him, he said. Maya's eyes searched his face. How? Ethan didn't have a perfect answer, but he had a truth, he said. We don't let you do this alone anymore. And as the rain kept falling outside, the real fight began, not against Derek's fists. Against the system he planned to use next that morning came pale and slow. Like the sun didn't want to look at what happened last night. In the community center, the fluorescent lights buzzed softly. Someone had put a kettle on. The smell of instant coffee filled the air. Lucas lay curled up on a donated blanket in the storage room, finally asleep, his cheeks still damp. Maya sat at a folding table with a paper cup between her hands. Her fingers had stopped shaking, but her eyes were distant, like her mind was still stuck at the moment the door splintered. Ethan sat across from her, elbows on the table, phone in hand. He'd texted Mrs. Patel at dawn, asking her to stay a little longer with Noah. She replied with a heart and a simple, of course. Tessa paced nearby, talking quietly with Officer Ramirez, who had returned to take a statement. Ramirez's face was serious, but his voice stayed kind. Maya, he said gently, I need to ask you a few things. Then we can talk about a protective order. Maya nodded, swallowing. Okay. Ramirez glanced at Ethan. And you, he said, you're a witness. That helps. Ethan nodded. Whatever you need. Ramirez opened a notebook. Has Derek threatened to take Lucas before? Maya's jaw tightened. Yes, how often? Maya's eyes filled. Every time I tried to leave. Ramirez nodded slowly, writing. And you said he's hit you? Maya's throat worked. Not every day, she whispered. That's how it starts. He's kind, then angry, then sorry. Then kind again. She stared at her cup. He hits the wall. Then he hits near me. Then he hits me. And then he cries and says he'll change. Ethan's chest tightened. He recognized the pattern even if his own story was different. The loop. The trap, Ramirez asked. Do you have photos? Medical records? Maya shook her head. I didn't want to make him mad. Ramirez's eyes softened like he'd heard that line too many times. Okay, he said. We'll work with what we have. Tessa slid a small bag across the table. I found a spare phone charger, she whispered to Maya, and some cash from the emergency jar. Maya shook her head. Tessa, I can't. Tessa cut her off gently. You can, just take it. Maya's eyes burned. She nodded, swallowing tears. Then she whispered, barely audible, thank you. Ethan watched the way Maya accepted help like it hurt. Like she'd been trained to believe needing anything made her weak. Ramirez cleared his throat. Maya, I need to be honest, he said. Pressing charges was the right move. But Derek, he'll likely post bail. And when he does, the next move he'll try is family court. Maya went still. To take Lucas? Ramirez nodded. To scare you. To control you. Maya's hands started shaking again. I can't fight him, she whispered. He has money. His brother's a lawyer. Ethan leaned forward. We'll find you a lawyer too. Maya looked at him like he'd said, we'll build you a new life in one day. I don't even have an address, she whispered. I don't even have a stable job. Ramirez nodded. That's why we need to move fast. There are programs, advocates, emergency housing. Maya's eyes flicked toward the storage room where Lucas slept. He'll say I'm unfit, she whispered. He'll say I'm homeless. He'll say I'm crazy. Ethan's jaw tightened. You're not crazy, he said. Maya gave a broken laugh. That's not what the court hears, she whispered. They hear paperwork. They hear suits. They hear him. Ethan felt anger rise. Not just at Derek, at a world that made a terrified mother prove she deserved her own child. Ramirez stood. I'm going to file the emergency report, he said. Tessa, keep them here today. Do not let her be alone. If Derek calls, don't answer. Maya nodded like she was listening, but her eyes were far away again, staring at a future she couldn't control. When Ramirez left, the room felt quieter, heavier. Ethan exhaled. Maya, he said, can I ask you something? Maya looked up slowly. Ethan hesitated, then asked, why did you say no police last night? Maya's lips trembled. Because last time, they didn't help. Ethan went still. Maya swallowed hard. 2 years ago, I called. He punched a hole in the door near Lucas's head. The officer came, looked at the wall, then looked at Derek. Her eyes filled. Derek joked with him, told him I was emotional. The officer told me to calm down and work it out. After they left, Derek punished me. Ethan's hands clenched under the table. I'm sorry, he whispered. Maya shrugged, empty. That's why I don't trust it. Not fully. Tessa sat down beside Maya and took her hand. Ramirez is different, she said. He grew up here. He knows. Maya nodded, but fear still lived in her shoulders. Ethan's phone buzzed. A number he didn't recognize. He ignored it. It buzzed again. Ethan's stomach tightened. He stepped away and answered quietly in the hallway. Hello? A smooth male voice responded, calm and smug. Ethan Parker? Ethan's blood went cold. Who is this? Derek Holloway's attorney, the man said. My name is Grant Holloway. Ethan's throat tightened. His brother? Grant chuckled softly. We can do this the easy way, Ethan. You're a third party. A stranger. If you keep inserting yourself, you'll complicate your own custody situation. Ethan's heart slammed. Don't talk about my kid. Grant's voice stayed smooth. It's public record, Ethan. Single father. Mother not present. It's delicate. Judges don't like drama. Ethan's jaw clenched. This isn't my custody case. It can become one, Grant said softly. All it takes is a report. A concern. You were involved in a violent incident with a child present last night, weren't you? Ethan swallowed. He broke in. Allegedly, Grant replied. And you hit him with a broom. correct? Ethan felt sick. I protected them. Grant sighed as if bored. Here's my advice, stop. Walk away. Let Maya handle her own mess. If you don't, we'll make sure you regret being a hero. Ethan's hands trembled. He looked back into the room. He saw Maya at the table, small, exhausted. He saw Lucas asleep. Innocent. Walking away would be easy. Walking away would also be a betrayal Ethan would feel forever. Grant's voice cut in again. So, what's it going to be? Ethan's throat was tight. His mind flashed to Noah, his own child safe at home, depending on him. Fear and duty collided inside his chest. Be honest, could you forgive someone who uses the law like a weapon after hurting you? Type forgive if you could, or never if you couldn't live with it. Ethan closed his eyes for half a second. Then he opened them and said, voice steady, I'm not walking away. Grant's tone sharpened. Then you're choosing war? Ethan swallowed. No, he said. He chose it. Grant chuckled once. We'll see. The call ended. Ethan stood in the hallway, phone in hand, heart pounding so hard it hurt. He walked back into the room and forced his face calm. Maya looked up immediately, reading his expression. What is it? Ethan hesitated. He didn't want to add more fear to her already full cup. But she deserved truth. It was Derek's brother, Ethan said quietly. A lawyer. Maya's face strained. He's already moving? Ethan nodded. Yeah, Tessa swore under her breath. Of course. Maya's voice shook. Ethan, you need to go. You have a son. I can't. Ethan cut her off gently. Maya, he said, listen to me. I know what it feels like to be left holding everything alone. He glanced toward the storage room. I'm not letting that happen to Lucas or you. Maya stared at him, tears rising again, this time mixed with something else. Hope. But hope is terrifying when you've been disappointed too many times. Maya whispered, why are you doing this? Ethan didn't have a heroic speech. He just had a simple truth. Because last night, he said, your son asked if he could keep me. Maya's lips trembled, and I realized, Ethan added, voice breaking slightly, I don't want to be the kind of man who says no to a kid who's hungry for safety. Maya covered her mouth, tears spilling. That was the big reveal, not about money, not about secrets. About how deep the fear went, and how fast Derek was willing to turn the law into a cage, and now they had to move. Fast. By afternoon. The community center felt like a war room. Tessa had printed forms. Officer Ramirez had returned with a victim advocate named Janelle, soft voice, sharp eyes, a folder full of options. Maya sat with Lucas on her lap, signing him little calming games with her fingers, even though she didn't realize she was doing it. Lucas's eyes followed her hands like they were a safe song. Ethan stood near the window, watching the street. Every car that slowed made his stomach tighten. He kept checking his phone for updates from Mrs. Patel. Noah ate lunch. Still napping. You're okay, son. Ethan read that message twice. Then once more. Like it could keep him steady, Janelle spoke gently. We can place you in emergency housing tonight, she told Maya. It won't be perfect, but it will be safe. Maya nodded slowly. Safe is enough. Janelle continued. We also need to file for a protective order. And we need documentation, anything. Texts, voicemails, threats. Maya's hands shook as she opened her phone. Her voice was thin. He deletes things, she whispered. He's careful. Tessa leaned in. Not as careful as he thinks, she said. Let's look. They scrolled together. Old messages. Missed calls. A voicemail icon. Maya froze when she saw it. Her thumb hovered. Ethan stepped closer. What is it? Maya whispered. It's from last month. I couldn't listen. Janelle nodded softly. If you can, play it now. With us here. Maya's throat worked. She pressed play. Derek's voice filled the room, calm and cruel. Hey, Maya. I know where you are. I know where Lucas goes to school. You can keep pretending, but you can't hide from me. Bring my son back, or I'll take him and you'll never see him again. Lucas flinched at the sound, even though he didn't understand all the words. He understood the tone. He understood his mother's fear. Maya pressed stop, hand trembling. Tears fell quietly. Janelle exhaled. That's evidence, she said. That's huge, Maya whispered. He said it like it was normal. Ethan's jaw clenched. Because for him it is. Tessa put a hand on Maya's shoulder. You're not crazy, she said. You're not exaggerating. This is real. Maya nodded, crying silently. Then Janelle turned to Ethan. And you, she said, careful. You need to think about your own safety and your child's. Ethan stiffened. I am. Janelle's eyes softened. Derek's brother called you, didn't he? Ethan blinked. How? Tessa answered for him. He told us. Janelle nodded. They'll try intimidation. They'll try to paint you as unstable. It's common. Ethan's stomach tightened. What do I do? Janelle didn't sugarcoat it. You document everything. You don't meet them alone. You don't respond to threats without counsel, and you may need to decide how far you can go. Ethan felt that sentence land like a weight. How far? Because he could lose everything, his job, his peace, his custody, just by standing too close to Maya's storm. Maya looked at him, panic flashing. Ethan, please, she whispered. Don't ruin your life because of me. Ethan shook his head. You're not ruining my life, he said. He is. Maya's eyes filled. But you have Noah, she said. You can't gamble him. Ethan's throat tightened. She was right. That's what made this so cruel. Janelle slid a paper across the table. There's another option, she said. Temporary guardianship. Maya stared. For who? For Lucas, Janelle said. If you worry Derek will file for emergency custody, you can ask the court to appoint a temporary guardian you trust while you stabilize housing and work. Maya's face went white. You mean, give my son to someone else? Janelle's voice stayed gentle. Temporarily, and not to someone else, to someone safe. Maya clutched Lucas closer. Lucas looked up, confused. Mom, Maya kissed his forehead. No, baby, I'm here. But Maya's eyes were breaking. Ethan felt his chest tighten. Who would that even be? He asked quietly. Janelle hesitated, then looked at Ethan. Sometimes, she said carefully, a stable adult witness can help. Ethan went still. Me? Maya snapped her gaze to him, horrified. No, I can't. Ethan's heart pounded. He imagined Lucas taken by Derek. He imagined Maya crushed. He imagined Noah's world threatened by the mess. He also imagined something else. Lucas safe. Lucas sleeping without flinching. Maya rebuilding. Ethan whispered, Maya, it would be temporary. Only if we have to. Maya's tears fell harder. I can't lose him, she whispered. Ethan's voice broke. Then don't, he said. Let's protect him before Derek does. Tessa wiped her eyes roughly. Derek will weaponize anything, she said. He'll call her homeless. He'll say she's unstable. Janelle nodded. A judge might listen, especially if Derek's brother is skilled. Maya stared at the table like it was a cliff edge. Her hands tightened around Lucas. Lucas hugged her neck, sensing danger. Ethan felt sick. The idea of temporary guardianship sounded like betrayal, like signing away your heart, but the court system didn't care about hearts. It cared about stability. And Derek knew that. Maya whispered, almost to herself, if I sign that, I'm admitting I'm unfit. Ethan shook his head. No, he said gently. You're admitting you're smart? You're keeping him safe. Maya looked up at Ethan with eyes full of terror. And if I do it, she whispered, what if you decide not to give him back? Ethan felt the insult like pain, but he understood. Fear makes you distrust even kindness. He leaned closer, voice steady. You can put it in writing. You can have oversight. Tessa, Janelle, everyone here. I'm not asking for your son. I'm offering a shield. Maya's breath shook. Lucas rubbed his eyes. Mom, I'm tired. Maya held him tighter. I know, baby. The room fell silent. Then Maya whispered, okay. Her voice was barely there. If it keeps him safe? Okay. Ethan's stomach dropped with the weight of what she'd just agreed to. Janelle nodded, already moving, already planning. We file immediately, she said. Tonight. Maya looked at Ethan, eyes shining with tears. Ethan. If you do this, she whispered, Derek will hate you. Ethan gave a small, tired smile. He already does. Maya's lips trembled into something like gratitude, and in that moment before the cliff, before the court, before the storm, Ethan realized something. Forgiveness was going to be the hardest part of this story. Not forgiving Derek, forgiving life. For making love feel like paperwork. Be honest. Could you forgive someone who shattered your safety and then smiled about it? Type forgive if you could. Or never if you couldn't. Ethan looked at Maya and Lucas and said quietly, no matter what happens next. You won't be alone. Maya nodded, crying not outside. The rain finally stopped, but peace didn't come, because the next sound they heard wasn't thunder. It was Ethan's phone buzzing. AGAINA new notification. Photo message from an unknown number. Ethan opened it then. His face drained of color. It was a picture of Noah. Asleep. In his bed. With a message under it. Stay out of this. Ethan's breath disappeared. For a second, the room tilted. The community center lights buzzed louder. His fingers went numb around the phone. Tessa noticed first. Ethan? She whispered. Ethan couldn't speak. He held the screen out. Tessa's face went white. Oh my God. Maya stood up so fast, Lucas nearly slipped from her lap. What? She demanded, panic exploding. Ethan's voice came out broken. It's Noah. Maya's eyes locked on the photo. A sleeping toddler. Ethan's son. In his own bed, Maya covered her mouth. No. No. Janelle's face hardened instantly. That's intimidation, she said. That's a crime. Ethan's hand started shaking. How did he? Ethan swallowed hard. Mrs. Patel. She's watching him. Tessa was already grabbing her keys. We go now? Janelle shook her head. Not alone, she said. Call Ramirez. Right now. Ethan's thumb fumbled as he dialed. His heart pounded so hard it hurt. When Ramirez answered, Ethan's voice came out fast and raw. Officer, someone sent me a photo of my son sleeping in his bed. Someone was inside my apartment. Ramirez's tone changed instantly. Where are you? Community center, Ethan said. Please, I'm dispatching units to your address right now, Ramirez said. Do not go alone. Stay where you are unless you're with officers. Ethan clenched his jaw, anger and fear colliding. My kid is there? I know, Ramirez said, voice firm. Units are en route. Call your neighbor. Tell her to lock the door and keep the child with her. Ethan turned and called Mrs. Patel with shaking hands. She answered, sleepy but calm. Ethan? Ethan's voice cracked. Mrs. Patel, listen to me. Lock your door. Do not open it for anyone. Take Noah into your apartment right now. Someone may have been inside mine. A pause, then her voice sharpened. I'm doing it. Noah is still asleep. I'm taking him now. Ethan closed his eyes, relief and terror mixing. Thank you, he whispered when he hung up. He looked at Maya. Maya was crying silently, holding Lucas like she could merge their bodies and protect him with sheer force. This is my fault, Maya whispered. This is my fault. Ethan shook his head hard. No, he said. This is Derek's fault. Janelle grabbed her folder. We escalate, she said. This changes everything. We don't just file protective orders. This becomes a stalking and trespass case, and it strengthens Maya's case too. He just proved he's dangerous beyond her. Tessa's eyes burned with anger. He went after a child. Lucas looked up at Maya, frightened. Mom, are we bad? Maya's face broke. She kissed his forehead over and over. No, baby, no, you're good. You're so good? Ethan turned away for a second, breathing hard. He pictured Noah's bed, Noah's blanket, the stuffed elephant Noah hugged at night. Someone had stood there. Someone had looked at his son and decided fear was a tool. Something in Ethan changed. He wasn't just scared anymore. He was furious. Officer Ramirez arrived 20 minutes later, rain still dripping from his jacket. 2 other officers followed, one holding a small evidence bag. Ramirez looked Ethan in the eye. We're going to your apartment now, he said. Stay with me. Ethan nodded, swallowing. Maya stepped forward. I'm so sorry, she whispered again. Ethan looked at her, voice steady now. Don't apologize for needing help, he said. He wants you to feel guilty. I won't give him that. Tessa grabbed Maya's hand. We stay here, she said to Maya. You and Lucas are not leaving. Janelle will help. You're safe. Maya nodded, trembling. Okay. Ethan followed Ramirez out into the night. The drive to Ethan's apartment felt endless. Every streetlight looked like a warning. Ethan's hands clenched and unclenched on his knees. When they arrived, the hallway smelled normal laundry detergent and old carpet. That normal smell made Ethan feel sick. Mrs. Patel opened her door a crack when she saw the police. Noah was in her arms, half asleep, rubbing his eyes. Noah, Ethan breathed. Noah's face lit up. Daddy! Ethan nearly collapsed with relief. He took Noah into his arms and held him so tight Noah squeaked. Ramirez stepped into Ethan's apartment with the other officers. They moved through the rooms quietly, checking windows, closets, the balcony door. One officer returned with a grim face. Back window lock is scratched. Someone forced it? Ethan's stomach turned. Ramirez looked at Ethan. We'll process this, he said. But I'm telling you right now, this is serious. Derek is escalating. Ethan's voice went rough. He'll keep escalating. Ramirez nodded. Which means you need to decide something. Ethan's heart pounded. What? Ramirez's eyes were steady. Witness protection isn't for cases like this, but emergency relocation, safe housing. We can connect you tonight for Noah. Ethan looked down at Noah, who was now dozing against his chest. Safe only because of Mrs. Patel's quick action. The idea of leaving his home, his routine, felt like losing another piece of life to Derek, but staying could cost everything. Ethan whispered, I'll do whatever it takes. Ramirez nodded. Good. Back at the community center, Janelle was already filing paperwork. She'd taken screenshots of the photo message. She'd documented the break-in. She'd called an emergency family court clerk. Maya sat in a corner with Lucas asleep on her shoulder, tears dried on her cheeks like salt lines. She looked up when Ethan returned with Noah. Maya's eyes widened, relief flooding. He's okay? Ethan nodded, swallowing. He's okay. Maya covered her mouth and sobbed quiet, broken sobs. I'm so sorry, she whispered again. Ethan sat beside her, Noah still in his arms. He looked at Maya with tired eyes. This is what Derek does, Ethan said softly. He takes love and turns it into a hostage situation. Maya nodded, shaking. Yes. Ethan exhaled and looked down at Noah and Lucas' 2 kids, innocent, dragged into adult cruelty. Then he said the sentence that surprised even him. We're going to end this. Tessa blinked. How? Ethan's jaw tightened. By telling the whole truth. In court. Publicly. No more whispers. No more hiding. Maya stared at him, fear flickering. He'll destroy me. Ethan shook his head. No, he said. He's already tried. And you're still here. Janelle looked up from her laptop. If we go public, she said carefully, it will be messy. But it can also protect you. Abusers hate light. Ethan nodded. Then we shine it. Maya's voice trembled. I don't know if I'm strong enough. Ethan looked at her, then at Lucas, then at Noah. You already are, he said. You walked into a diner and asked for a place to sit. That was strength. Maya's eyes filled again. If you believe love still wins, comment amen. Because someone out there is reading this while shaking. And they need to see proof that courage can grow in ordinary people. The next morning, they stood in family court. Not in a movie courtroom. A plain room with beige walls, tired chairs, and a judge who looked like she'd seen too much pain to be easily impressed. Derek arrived in a crisp suit, hair perfect, smile practiced. His brother Grant walked beside him, confident, carrying a thick folder like a weapon. Maya's knees trembled. Ethan stood beside her, steady. Tessa sat behind them with both children, whispering comfort. The judge called the case. Custody and protective order request. Grant stood first. Your Honor, he began smoothly, we're concerned about the mother's instability. No fixed address. No stable income. Associating with a strange man involved in violence. Ethan's hands clenched. Grant continued. My client only wants his son safe. Derek nodded, sad face ready for performance. Then Janelle stood with their attorney, Rachel Alvarez, a tough woman with tired eyes and a spine like steel. Rachel spoke calmly. Your Honor, we have evidence of stalking, threats, and a forced entry into a community center. Grant smirked. Allegations? Rachel lifted her phone. And we have evidence of a forced entry into Ethan Parker's apartment, including a photo of his child sleeping, sent as intimidation. The judge's eyes sharpened. Is that true? Grant's smirk faltered. Derek's jaw tightened for the first time. Rachel continued, we also have a voicemail threat and a police report from last night. The judge leaned forward. Play it. Maya's hands trembled as Rachel pressed play. Derek's voice filled the courtroom again. Calm. Sure, terrifying. I know where you are. I know where Lucas goes to school. Bring my son back or you'll never see him again. Silence swallowed the room. The judge's face changed, hardening. Focusing. Grant's confidence cracked. Derek stared straight ahead. Mask slipping, and Maya sat there shaking, realizing her pain was finally becoming visible to someone who had power. But then Grant stood again. Voice sharp, desperate. Your Honor, even if my client made mistakes, the mother still admitted she is homeless. She cannot provide stability. The judge turned to Maya. Is that true? Maya's throat closed. Everything hung on her answer. And in that moment, fear tried to pull her under again. Maya stared at the judge, throat tight like someone had wrapped a hand around it. The room felt too bright, too quiet, too serious for a woman who had spent months surviving in shadows. Grant Holloway's words echoed in her head. Homeless, unstable, unfit. Derek sat behind his lawyer in a neat suit, face calm, like he was watching a show he expected to win. His eyes stayed on Maya, cold and warning. Lucas shifted in his chair near Tessa, rubbing his eyes. Noah made a small sleepy sound, curled against Tessa's shoulder. Two kids in a courtroom. Two small bodies paying for adult cruelty. The judge asked again, firm but not unkind. Ms. Reyes, do you currently have stable housing? Maya's lips trembled. She wanted to lie. A quick lie could sound safer, could look cleaner, but lies were how Derek survived. Maya swallowed, then whispered, no. Grant's mouth twitched like he'd just tasted victory. There it is, Your Honor. The judge held up a hand. Counsel, be quiet. Maya's breath shook. I don't have stable housing, she said, louder now, forcing the words out. Because I left an abusive home. Because I chose my son over pretending everything was fine. Grant snapped. So you admit you can't provide? Maya flinched. Then something inside her, small but stubborn, stood up. She looked at the judge and continued. But I am working with an advocate. I have emergency placement arranged. I have a plan. Grant scoffed. A plan isn't a home? Rachel Alvarez stood smoothly. Your Honor, she said, stability is important, but so is safety. And the father has shown he is a direct threat to multiple children. Grant leaned forward. Objection. The judge's eyes sharpened. Overruled. Rachel nodded. We have evidence of forced entry. We have intimidation. We have threats. We have a recorded voicemail. And we have an invasion of Mr. Parker's home, including a photo of his sleeping child. The judge turned to Ramirez, who sat near the back as an officer of record. Officer, is the break-in confirmed? Ramirez stood. Yes, Your Honor, signs of forced entry. Scratches on the window lock. We documented it this morning. The judge's gaze shifted to Derek. Mr. Holloway, she said, voice colder, were you anywhere near Mr. Parker's residence last night? Derek's jaw tightened. Grant stood quickly. My client denies any involvement. The judge didn't look impressed. That is noted. Maya's hands were shaking under the table. She pressed them into her thighs, grounding herself. Then the judge asked the question that mattered most. Ms. Reyes, she said softly, are you afraid of Mr. Holloway? Maya's mouth went dry. Fear of Derek wasn't just fear of being hit, Dot. It was fear of being erased. Fear of losing Lucas. Dot, fear of living a life where every door could splinter. Maya glanced at Derek. His expression was almost bored, like her fear was something he owned. Maya's eyes filled with tears. She looked down at Lucas, small, tired, trying to be brave. Lucas gave her a tiny nod, like he was telling her, tell it. Please, Maya inhaled, shaking. Yes, she whispered. Then she said it again, stronger, with her whole chest. Yes. Grant snapped. Fear isn't proof. The judge's voice cut through. The evidence is proof. Derek's mask slipped for half a second, anger flashing through the polished Dot. The judge leaned back, hands folded. Here's what we will do, she said. A temporary protective order is granted today. Mr. Holloway will have no contact with Miss Reyes and no contact with Lucas until further review. Maya's breath broke out of her like she'd been drowning and finally reached air. Grant stood fast. Your Honor, the judge raised her hand. Sit down, counsel. Grant sat tight with anger. The judge continued. Supervised visitation may be considered only after the father completes an evaluation and complies with the order. Derek's face tightened. This is quiet, the judge warned, and Derek shut his mouth. Maya's hands flew to her face. She cried silently, shaking with relief. Rachel touched Maya's shoulder. You did it, she whispered, but the judge wasn't finished. She looked at Ethan. Double quotes, Mr. Parker. She said, I understand you're a third party who stepped in. Ethan stood nervous. Yes, Your Honor. The judge's gaze was steady. You were assaulted in the community center? Yes. And your apartment was entered? Yes, the judge nodded slowly. You have a child. Yes, Ethan said, voice thick. Noah. The judge paused, then said something Ethan didn't expect. I want to commend you for doing the right thing, she said. The court does not always see strangers show up for children who aren't theirs. Ethan's throat tightened. Grant rolled his eyes. But the judge ignored him. Then the judge turned back to Maya. Ms. Reyes, she said, the court will also grant you temporary emergency housing placement support through the county program. Your advocate will coordinate. Maya could barely breathe. Thank you, she whispered. Derek stood abruptly. This is ridiculous, he snapped. She's poisoning my son against me. The judge's voice turned hard as stone. Mr. Holloway, one more outburst and you'll be removed. Derek's hands clenched. Grant grabbed his arm, forcing him to sit. The judge banged her gavel lightly. Order granted. It was over. Not forever, but for now. The door had been locked outside the courthouse. The sky was brighter than it had been in days. The rain was gone. The air smelled clean, like the world had taken a fresh breath. Maya stepped onto the sidewalk and almost collapsed. Ethan caught her elbow gently. Maya looked at him, eyes swollen. You didn't have to risk Noah, she whispered. Ethan shook his head, voice quiet. I didn't risk him, he said. I protected him by protecting you. Maya blinked, tears spilling again. I don't know how to repay you. Ethan looked at Lucas, who was holding a small juice box Tessa handed him. Lucas stared at Ethan with careful trust. Ethan said, You don't repay kindness. You pass it on. Lucas took a step forward and hugged Ethan's legs suddenly, tight and honest. Ethan froze, then slowly rested a hand on the boy's back. Maya covered her mouth, sobbing again this time because it didn't hurt as much. This time it was warm. Tessa bounced Noah gently. Mrs. Patel says she'll watch him tonight too if you need, she said to Ethan. Ethan nodded, grateful. Tell her thank you. Rachel Alvarez stepped out with a folder. This isn't the end, she warned. Derek will try again. But now we have the record. Now we have light. Maya nodded, wiping her face. I'm done hiding, she whispered. Ethan looked at her. Me too. And if this story touched you, don't just scroll away quietly. Tap like not for me, but for the people who felt powerless and still stood up anyway. One click can be your way of saying, I see you. I believe you. Maya turned to Ethan, voice trembling but steady. I meant what I said in the diner, she whispered. People don't stay. Ethan smiled softly, tired eyes kind. Some people do, he said. Not because they're perfect, because they choose to. Maya looked down at Lucas, then at Ethan, then at Noah, 2 kids safe in the same frame. Her voice broke. Thank you for giving my son a night where he could eat without fear. Ethan nodded. Thank you for trusting us enough to sit down. They walked to their cars slowly. Like no one wanted to break the spell of safety too fast. And the morals settled in quietly. Like a warm blanket at the end of a cold day. Sometimes the bravest thing isn't fighting. Sometimes it's asking, in a trembling voice, for a place to sit. And sometimes the biggest miracle isn't money or power. It's an ordinary person saying yes, and staying long enough to turn fear into a future.